who's your number 3 again?
Mike Green.
Yeah,
Mike
so he's
Green from Mark.
my number 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, 2, 3, and 4 are very close. I thought about putting each one of them number 2 overall and ended up settling on this order. Mike Green. So obviously, let's do the same idea, right? We've got a whole lot of positive, and then we've got the one. Here's the thing to be concerned about. The positive is like he plays with this. I love guys that stand out for playing at a different level of intensity, regardless of the position. But he plays with a violence and aggression that nobody else in this edge rusher, not nobody else, almost nobody else in this edge rusher class plays with. He's got a really good motor, but his like impact, violence, and aggression just jumps out of the tape relative to any of these other guys. He's got a nice sort of breadth of pass rushing moves. He can win in a lot of different ways. He's got good speed around the edge. He's got strength. He can string together moves and go from one thing to the next. He's not just, here's the move I'm using on this play, and if you beat that, I'm stoned. He's like, all right, well, if this one doesn't work, I can counter to the next thing. So, yeah, I think his change of direction one-on-one with a quarterback can be a little bit iffy. Like he keeps ending up on the ground in those situations sometimes. That's a theme for some of these players as well. Like James Pierce has the same issue, or in fact, a worse issue. But yeah, I think Mike Green's got a lot of ability, and the strength of competition is a bit of a concern, but he did show up at the Senior Bowl, and at least for some of it, he did look good against Ohio State. He did. When he played higher levels of competition, he did look the same guy. He didn't disappear the second he stepped up.
Yeah, I agree with so much of that, by the way. The physicality that he plays with in the run game as well, and and as a pass rusher. Also, the bad rushes that he has, he'll get locked up and just get, driven past the quarterback sometimes. But that's another one of those things I think people just need to understand perspective. Like when you're watching a prospect, they're going to lose 75 to 85% of their reps that are one-on-one. Like that's just the expectation. So there'll be losses in there. It's about how often do you win and create disruption. For the competition concerns, the highlight reel package, right? When Mike Green gets drafted on draft night, the 2 plays I think they're going to show: Ohio State outside spin move and the quick close on Will Howard for a sack. You just watch that one play. It's like, all right, the burst, explosiveness, the finish against Will Howard. And then of course the Senior Bowl play where Josh Connolly is barely even out of his stance, and then he's on his back because of Mike Green's bull rush, and Mike Green's like, I'm good. I showed what I need to do. Even though there's some context around that, it's, Connolly moving to the right side. And, there's a few rushers, Green included in this draft, who are so quick and explosive. They're getting into the pads of a tackle before they even finishing their pass set. And that's obviously what Green did on that play. So those are the plays you're going to see on draft night that show, yeah, he's really productive at Marshall, but also when the competition questions came up, he showed up as well.
Yeah, and the change of direction thing, like his 3-cone and his short shuttle were really good numbers as well. So in his case, I think it's a technique thing. Like I think that playing with violence and the motor and the relentlessness, I think he gets a little bit carried away when he ends up like one-on-one with a quarterback chasing him down and just sort of overcommits, right? And can get shaken that way. I think if he just has a little bit more patience and discipline in those one-on-one situations, he'll break down more and he won't get left on the floor. So I think that's the thing that can be fixed. His big red flag concern thing is, it's number one, do you care about the strength of competition? I think there's enough evidence there that it's not a thing, right? Ohio State, Senior Bowl, etc. And then 2, it's off-field concerns, right? There's, there was a former sexual assault accusation. There's some other stuff out there as well. It's that stuff. And that, for our purposes is a kind of unknown. We don't have enough details. We don't know how to value that. For NFL teams, that's something they need to work on themselves and decide what it is.
Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now. And some of the questions that are coming up in the chat, like, hey, why is he not going top 5? What you just mentioned is one. And the second one is, if he was wearing a Buckeyes helmet, I think he is. I think he is going top 5. If you take away the off-field for a minute and you put a Buckeye helmet on him and he played at Ohio State his
I mean,
production probably
replace
drops
him.
a little bit, but yeah,
Swap the
he's
helmets, right? Swap the helmets between him and Abdul Carter. He would be in the same bucket.
I completely agree. So I think that's the only question, right? And so I would say I think his production. So when you talk about production, which I think is important and valuable, when you talk about production at a lower level, it needs to be dominant, right? So when you watch Quinyon Mitchell come out, hey, he stayed in the MAC. He never transferred in the transfer era here. Well, he dominated in the MAC. He wasn't just good. He dominated at Toledo. And I think we saw it didn't matter for him. There have been small school players forever in the NFL who were dominant players and then very good NFL players. So I think Mike Green's production, his snap for snap domination in the run game as a pass rusher is strong enough to check the box of, of strength of competition, right? He was that good. And if he went to Ohio State or he went to Penn State, it would come down a touch, but it would still be high end, right? So that's where I'm at on Green. He's my 2. Honestly, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up as the best pass rusher. And his ascent is, so here's the other part, Sam. Is his ascent, is he not being talked about even higher just because of where he came from? He went from the first time you heard about him was in the summer. Mike Renner mentioned him. A few people hey, Marshall's got a pass rusher. Hey, Marshall's got a guy. And then the season starts and he's got the sack against Ohio State and a pretty good game against Virginia Tech. Hey, Mike Green from Marshall could go in the first round. Okay, now he's going to the Senior Bowl. Hey, now he just put Josh Connolly on his back. He went from keep an eye on him, maybe first round, maybe top half of the first round, maybe top 10, right? So maybe it's because he started from such a low spot, whereas Abdul Carter, people expected to be the next Micah Parsons at Penn State, and they just kind of locked him in at number 1.
For anyone that doesn't know, Dane Brugler's draft guide called The Beast, for obvious reasons, once you get it, it's an absolute tome of information. It's out there right now. It's the best thing you can buy this draft season in terms of prep and information. Let me just read the bullet point that sort of sums up some of the off-field stuff for Mike Green, because Dane does an amazing amount of kind of background information and prep and all this kind of stuff. So go get the Beast. It's an awesome thing. For Mike Green, NFL teams will put his background under the microscope. Suspended at the start of his second year at Virginia following sexual assault allegations. Green was not charged and the case was suspended. Green has denied any wrongdoing. Also, sexual assault allegation while in high school, no formal charges filed. Shortly before signing day, Virginia requested that he sign a zero tolerance policy. So the reason it's sort of messy, muddy, is there's multiple instances, but nothing has come of any of them, right? So how do you value that? Now, from our perspective on the outside, it's complete folly. Like, we have no idea of the details of any of this stuff. An NFL team is going to have to look at this individually and say, well, were these real? Were these, made up stories? What are we talking about here? And each one of them is going to have to make that determination. But that's why this is messy, because it's like there's a guy who's got multiple instances of accusations now, none of which have amounted to anything, but multiple things have sort of put together this pattern, which is a potential red flag for a guy when you're talking about, do we draft this guy in the top 10 of the draft? What is this?
So I have Green at 2. You have him at 3 on your list here. Anything else on Mike Green before we move on to edge 4 for you?
No, that's it. I think if you swapped his helmet with Abdul Carter's, you would be talking about a guy who could go in the top 5 of this draft and be the first edge rusher off the board and be, a blue chip prospect, again, on the field, with that off the field stuff still being a potential red flag. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.